name is Saurabh Khire. I'm from Georgia Institute of Technology in the US. And so I guess I'm one of the 5 papers from the US, as the chair mentioned. So the topic representation coding for error-resilient video delivery. So it is a paper that talks about graceful recovery from video signals subject to burst and signal losses. And these kind of impairments can happen when you are doing a mobile or wireless video access. So wireless channels are subject to burst losses due to various reasons such as congestion, interference, multipath, etc. Also, when you are accessing a video, streaming a video on your cellular network, you could go under a tunnel or on a subway and you could lose signal. So signal loss impairments are also possible for video access. Loss of signal on the physical layer eventually leads to loss of frames in the video or application layer, which means you lose multiple seconds of video, and so that's something that this scheme would try to address. As you can imagine, there are multiple schemes existing to address things like packet losses and so on. One of them is FEC, or forward error correction, in which you add redundancy to the data with the hope that you can recover the lost data at the receiver. But FEC has a problem. It has something called a cliff effect, in which if the losses exceed a certain design capability, then nothing can be reconstructed at the receiver. There is ARQ, automatic request repeat, in which data retransmission is requested for the lost data. Again, because of retransmission, there is a disruption in the expected transmission order, and hence it's unacceptable for multimedia streaming kind of applications. There is scalable video coding, as the previous speaker talked about, and it is not exactly for error resiliency, but can give error resiliency because you have multiple enhancement layers, and so if you are missing a few enhancement layers, you can still have a low quality reconstruction at the receiver. The problem is that you still need to send the base layer with 100% accuracy. There are things called FMO and ASO, which are defined as extensions in the AVC standard. The main aim over here is to scatter the errors over the entire frame. So it is useful for random packet losses, but doesn't really do much when you have multiple consecutive frame losses and so on. And so finally, a promising approach for burst losses particularly is the MDC, or multiple description coding, in which the source video is split into multiple independently decodable representations. And then it's transmitted over multiple paths to the receiver. So the assumption over here is that if one or more descriptions is lost, still a low quality reconstruction can be obtained at the receiver. The problem is, again, it relies on this part diversity and also increases the decoder complexity because of unpredictable arrival times of different descriptions. And so because of some shortcomings of the existing schemes, we are basically trying to present another scheme called multiple representation coding. And as the name suggests, it is inspired from MDC in that it also relies on creating multiple independently decodable representations of the source video. But the way they are delivered to the receiver is different than MDC. And so we'll see how that is different. And here's a quick block diagram of what MRC looks like, and I'll go into the details of these blocks later on, but here's a quick overview. So as I said, you have to make multiple representations of the source video, and that is done by the downsampling block. Any kind of downsampling in a signal produces aliasing artifacts, and so you have this anti-aliasing filter at top. Then these multiple downsampled representations are encoded using a single encoder or a bank of encoders. And then all of these encoded versions are given to something called a COP interleaver. So COP is a group of pictures. And the COP interleaver interleaves all these different encoded representations onto a single transmitted stream, which then passes through the network and is fed to the receiver, which inverts all these operations that are performed by the transmitter. And so let me go into the details of some of these blocks. So the way we generate multiple representations from the source video is by spatial or temporal subsampling. So over here is an example of a spatial subsampling or downsampling. You can go for a 4 MRC configuration in which one of the 4 pixels is assigned to each representation. You could also have a 2 MRC configuration as shown over here, where either the alternate rows or columns of the frame are assigned to each representation. Bear in mind though that as you increase the number of representations, you impact the coding performance. So the total bitrate of the schemes of the stream is increasing as the number of representations is increasing. As I said, any kind of downsampling can produce an aliasing artifact. So over here you can see an aliased frame. The edges of the building wall are kind of jagged, which is a typical aliasing artifact. And to not have that, you need to use an anti-aliasing filter. So we use a simple Lanczos 3 anti-aliasing filter over here, which is good enough for the job. Of course, having an anti-aliasing filter which performs like a low-pass filter gives you some degradation in PSNR, as we'll see later on. And the key to the scheme really is the GOP interleaver. So those who are unfamiliar with video coding, I hope there's not a lot of you, but GOP stands for group of pictures, and usually a video is encoded with a GOP size of 1 second. So if the source frame rate is 24 frames per second, a GOP contains 24 frames. And what the GOP interleaver is designed to do is to interleave multiple spatio-temporally co-located multiple representations in such a manner that they are not simultaneously affected by the same burst loss. So what does that big statement mean? Let's look at the illustration over here. We have a 4 MRC scheme. So each of these different colors correspond to different representations, and each of these blocks over here represents a GOP of the encoded video stream. So each block is labeled. So NW13 means that this GOP belongs to the northwest representation, and it encodes the 13th second of the video. So all of this data is passed on to the GOP interleaver, which then interleaves it and outputs a single transmission stream as shown over here. And if you look carefully observe this transmitted stream, you can see that temporally co-located GOPs belonging to different representations are not adjacent to each other. So, for example, NW13 is not adjacent to NE13, is not adjacent to SW13, and so on. So there's this temporal dispersal of GOPs, and how does that really help? So here is a very simplified overview of how this kind of interleaving helps. So if you have a simple single stream that is being encoded and transmitted, and if it's impaired by a burst loss of say 4 GOP lengths long, you lose the 4 GOPs from 11 through 14, which essentially means you've lost 4 seconds of the video. And the best thing you can do is try for some error concealment at the decoder, which won't be very good. However, in case of an MRC scheme, if you have again a loss of 4 GOPs, you still, although you are still losing 4 GOPs, they belong to different representations and encode different seconds of the video. So even though SE11 is lost, you have 3 other representations still encoding the 11th second of the video, which is what enables the graceful recovery from the losses, as we'll see further. And this is another the same GOP interleaver, how it functions for the 2 MRC case. Of course, nothing good comes of free, right? So you are getting this increased performance, but at the expense of delay. You need to wait for all the representations to arrive at the decoder before you can start displaying, and so the delay is the penalty you are paying here for the increased performance. Here's a simple K again. On the left you can see a figure in which the 2 MRC configuration was used, and you lost 1 representation, which means 50% of data was lost, and without any concealment, this is how it would look like at the left. But if you just use a simple Lanczos 3 interpolation again, because 50% of data was available, you can do a much better job of concealing that error. As you can see, it improves the visual and the PSNR quality of the frame. And so here are some results. So the 3 graphs over here, the red, in each of these plots, the red graph, the red curve is the MRC PSNR, and the blue curve is a full size without any protection. And both the streams have been encoded at the same bitrate, around 2100 kbps. As you move from the leftmost plot to the rightmost plot, the burst loss length increases. So it's 0 for the left plot, and it's about I don't know, 90 or so frames in the rightmost graph. Oops. So as you can see, when there is no loss, the average PSNR of the MRC scheme is slightly lower than that of the full size, and that's expected. As I said, there is an impact on the coding efficiency as we add more representations. So it's not very useful when there are no losses over the network. But as the number of losses increases, you can see these valleys in the PSNR in the MRC curve in the full size scheme. These values represent the locations where the entire frame was lost, and hence the decoder, the best it could do was to use something like a frame copy to conceal that error. As you can see, as the loss length increases, the values in the PSNR curve for the MRC scheme are either absent or narrower as compared to the full size scheme. So clearly, the performance in terms of in the case of in the presence of burst losses for the MRC scheme is better than the full size scheme. And this again shows the average PSNR as the burst loss increases. Again, there's a rapid degradation in the PSNR for the full size scheme, but it's more graceful for the MRC scheme. And finally, because Dr. Holmes was the keynote speaker, I just thought maybe I can add a slide on HEVC. So one of the differences that we have seen in the HEVC versus AVC streams has been that the I frame is very fat compared to the no reference B frames. So it can be up to 2 to 4 times larger in HEVC as compared to AVC. What that means is that if an HEVC stream is impaired by loss, the same loss as compared to the AVC stream, qualitatively you can say that it is more likely to impact the I frame just because it is fatter in the stream. And so obviously once an I frame is impacted, the whole GOP which references the I frame kind of gets impacted. And so we think that our scheme can have even better performance in HEVC, although I don't have the results right now to prove that. But it's just a note to add, and that's about it. Thank you. If you have any questions?
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Please.
Slide 7. You're talking about losses of multiple drops. So what kind of transmission are you thinking? Is it a mobile scenario or?
Yeah, mobile scenario, or so where there is a sustained burst or signal loss. So if you go under a tunnel or an elevator, and you just have signal loss, those kind of scenarios.
Some other questions? Well, I may have one simple one. There was this, of course, you lose something in the performance. Can you say a little bit more about how do you think this gap could be decreased?
Yes. So the thing is that if there is a way to know from the network, get some feedback about the kind of burst loss that is expected, you could either switch the scheme on and off. That's one way, because if you have it on all the time, you have a sustained loss in PSNR, which may not be very good. So we do have another kind of paper which talks about adapting to the network conditions, and yeah. So I actually accidentally included that the result in this the adaptive MRC scheme, where basically if you have that kind of adaptive behavior which looks at the punch loss and adapts the GOP length so that that gives a better performance. I could refer to that paper.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks again.